Welcome to Healing Mindset. I am your host, Nazish, where science meets spirit. Today, we are joined by Dr. Eleanor Haspel-Portner, a best-selling author, energy healer, and a visionary teacher who bridges wisdom with practical living. Through her work with Noble Energy Map, Dr. Haspel guides people to harness their energy, align with their purpose, and manifest a life they truly love. Tonight, we explore the synergy between energy, consciousness, and personal growth. Welcome to the show, Dr. Haspel. How are you doing today?
Excellent.
Oh, that is amazing. So, Dr. Haspel, how did your journey into energy healing begin, and what drew you to combine it with scientific principles?
Well, my first memory is of seeing auras. And I didn't know what I was seeing, but I knew growing up that I knew things that other people didn't know. And I could see things that other people didn't see. And then in 1974, I started meditating, doing transcendental meditation. I already had my Ph.D. And at the time, I didn't realize that my Ph.D. was actually in the four worlds, because I studied at the University of Chicago, and I studied anthropology, sociology, psychology, and biology. And those are the four worlds: the mental world, the spiritual world, the emotional world, and the physical world, as delineated in the Tree of Life. I didn't know any of that, but I got my PhD. I started my practice as a clinical psychologist, and I was in training as a Jungian. And one night I was sitting and was saying, of what am I afraid? And then I had a Kundalini experience, an experience of pure energy, pure light. And I was shown that reincarnation is real, and that at the moment of death, we forget all knowledge, only to live a life again to remember it. And so I was shown that, and I was shown about relationships. And it set me on a path of writing. I was already a licensed clinical psychologist, and I began to have experiences of knowing things about my clients that they hadn't told me. And so all of my psychic experiences came back in. And I was a scientist. I needed to validate them. I needed to know they were real. And then in 1978, I was told voice to go to India. And I went to the ashram. The thing about the ashram, I was told, when God tells you to do something,
You do it. Yeah.
you do it. So I did it. Obviously not scientifically validated, other than I met my husband at the day and time my mentor astrologer told me I'd meet someone. And we've been together since the day 48 years ago. So that set me on another path. And I was already doing groups and studying consciousness and studying as a Jungian. And then in 1996, I found the human design system, which, because it synthesizes the Tree of Life and astrology and the I Ching, all the disciplines I knew. And then in 1999, the man who brought that system to the world asked me to validate it scientifically. And when I validated it using the statistical package for the social sciences, I expanded it to be a valid scientific system. So that became the work, and I still do it.
It feels so fascinating. So, tell me one thing. Was there a breakthrough moment for you that solidified this integration for you?
Well, it's interesting. I've been studying and writing and exploring my whole life. And my husband said to me last night, he pulled out an article I wrote about the 32nd path of intelligence in the tree of life. And I wrote it in 2010. And I edited it yesterday, and I gave it to my husband to read. And he said to me, "This is really amazing. You went to study with Thurza Escobar. You studied in England with Pamela Crane. We went to Taos. We went to here. We went to there." And he said, "You didn't know at the time that all of these pieces were together in a unified whole. But it's like you were gathering the pieces that would validate your work." And I did. It was intuitive. It was God-given. And I didn't know what I was doing at the time I was doing it. But I knew I was compelled. Go study this. Go study this. Go explore this. Go into depth here. And then when I did my research, and the human design system turned out to be a faulty, incomplete system, and I did the calculations, I went, holy, explains it. And so my quest to find truth was God-led. I didn't know where I was going, what the purpose was, but when God says do it, you do it. So I did that. We're going through a time now, astrologically, that hasn't occurred since 306 BC. We're in biblical times. And now with 3i Atlas, do you know about 3i Atlas?
No. Tell us more about that.
There is a body in our solar system, in our ecliptic, that is right now close to Mars. And in October 29th, it will be the closest to the Earth that it's going to be. The films coming out of the James Webb Telescope and the American NASA, the space agency, it's not being made public. And we think it's an extraterrestrial craft. So I teach every week, and I'm telling my students to stay calm in the midst of all of the world chaos. I believe that if we can have peace in the world, the near future, we're going to be okay.
Okay, exactly. So, listening to you, I find it very fascinating how merging intuition and science creates a roadmap for transformation that's both practical and profound. It is amazing. And how we are all led by God to do things, and then later realizing that it was an act of God, nothing to do with us. It is absolutely amazing to hearing it more from your own experience. So, you teach people to manifest their highest potential. What role does energy awareness play in this process?
Um, Inner process is really important. There are four worlds that we live in, and then we integrate them. So by the time a baby is 3 months old, the baby has everything they need to manifest their full potential. They have choice. They reach for objects. They have preferences. So I believe that we're spiritual beings in a physical body. And we need to be back in touch with our spiritual core. So one of my purposes in my work is to help parents of young children tune into the spirit of their child. We don't encourage children to listen to their inner voice. And if parents would just say to the child, does this feel right for you? Is this where you want to be? What do you need? What do you know about this? And when this, that's like what? Be spirit. Be, when I brought up my kids, I tuned into their soul. I didn't, I encouraged them to see the energy of people. So I would say to them, what animal does that person look like? Or what do you see? What color do they look? Or what do you know about them intuitively? And I would encourage everyone to meditate. And it doesn't matter. I do transcendental meditation, and I've done it since 1974. But any meditation, any inner journaling, that where you are listening for the voice of your soul, that takes you into the depth of who you are. And also, I always encourage people to look at their spiritual values, mental world values, not how much money you have in the bank, but how aligned is your soul to your work, to your living situation, to your partner, if you have one. And make sure your values are in sync, because if they're not, you're not going to be happy. Are you knowing what you love?
Yeah, exactly. It is very important for us to have our values in sync with what we do. Then only achieving the highest potential in our life is possible. If we don't love what we do, our highest potential won't come that easy. Beautifully said, Dr. Eleanor. So, how can someone start turning into their energy to see tangible changes in their life, daily life?
Well, the first way would be to go through each world. Start with spiritual. I have a program called Step Over the Threshold. And I ask people to go through each world one day at a time and start with spirit and look at what your spiritual values are.
Okay.
Do you value honesty? Do you value prayer? Do you value meditation? Do you treat other people kindly and with compassion? The second world, physical. And that's because self-care is so important. Are you eating right? Are you exercising every day? Are you healthy? Do you take care of your body? Or do you push it? Do you get enough sleep? So that's two worlds. Third world, emotional. I call it emotional angelic because in the tree of life, the 27th path of intelligence goes between the solar plexus, the emotional center, and the splenic center, the intuitive center. And the emotional center can make us reactive. Somebody cuts you off when you're driving. How do you react?
Anger.
Or do you say, oh, that person must be having such a hard day?
That's very rare to say having a hard day, but majorly it is anger that spurts out.
I remember when I was in India in the taxis,
Yeah.
and all they would do is honk their horn.
Yeah. That is true.
Hey.
Yeah, I know.
And I would think, what about
it is very new for people who come from out of India to India to see that culture. But yes, I can completely understand what you are trying to say here.
So being in the tree of life, we can see that if you are emotionally reactive,
Yeah.
then nothing good can come of it. Because we are shown in the Bible, in all spiritual systems, compassion and love. Be kind, be loving, do not get emotionally reactive. So if you begin to feel emotional reactions, can you release it? Could you release it? Would you release it? When? Are you going to hold on to it and let it eat you inside? Or are you going to turn it into love and compassion and understanding and sail through it in a loving way? And then you're balancing your own energy. And then the mental waking world where we live, we're having a conversation online. That's the mental waking world. We're talking about the other worlds, but we're doing it in the mental space. And so, are you doing work you love in the mental world? Are you managing your mental waking world resources so that you have enough money in the bank? You can afford your rent. Your living situation, does it support your spiritual core? Or does it undermine it? And then how does everything come together as a whole? And are you living an integrated life? Or are you being pulled and pushed in many different directions? So I would recommend a self-evaluation. I have a full assessment on my website that I invite people to do for free.
Okay.
But these four worlds are the worlds we live in. And if you're not balanced in all of them, you're not going to be happy. You're not going to be aligned. My famous line is, when you know what you know, and no can tell you you don't know, you're not stubborn. You're aligned spiritually.
Yeah, that actually answers my question a lot deeper than I knew already. And trust me, this is so insightful and powerful to be reminded about the consciousness that it is not just an abstract. It is such an actionable thing that we can work on. And then there are so many words to actually put our energies and come all of that together. That is amazing. So in your experience, what are the common blocks that prevent individuals from stepping into their fullest expression?
The most critical, I think, is not living their true values honestly. Telling themselves that compromise of who they are is going to bring them a need. It won't. It's very important to do your inner work. And so many people make excuses. They don't have time. They're too busy. They have all of these responsibilities. We must carve out time for our soul.
Time management is very important.
It's not going to work.
Yeah. So, are these blocks more emotional, mental, or energetic? And like, how can you guide people through them?
I guide them through by introducing them to the four worlds. I just published a book called Living from Soul. And that title tells you everything. If you don't live from soul, you're not living your truth. So take the time, if you're listening to this, take the time after the broadcast and just sit with yourself and ask yourself, what are my true values? Am I living my truth? Or am I compromising? And if I'm compromising, where am I compromising? In which world? And what difference would it make if I didn't compromise? Now, that's not to say that we don't all do things that we don't want to do.
Yeah.
You know, I don't love cleaning up my dishes, for example. I do them every day after I eat a meal because my value is on cleanliness and order, and that makes me feel good on a soul level. Even though on a mental waking world, I have to do something I don't love doing. But I'd rather compromise in the day-to-day world than at the soul level of who I am. That's an important principle to remember.
It is an important principle to remember, and then working on your soul and then your energy is very amazing. That, like, trust me, this is eye-opening for me. You often work with couples and groups in addition to individuals. How does collective energy influence personal growth?
Well, it's very unique for each individual. Some people are more open to receiving the energy of others than other people. So, for example, my husband is a medical doctor, and he picks up what his patients feel in his body.
Yeah.
And he had to learn that he picks up energy from other people. I see energy and don't feel it that much. So I always encourage people to pay attention to their perceptions. What do you know about who you were at the start of your day? And then if you're with someone, what difference does that make for you?
Exactly.
And right now, collectively, we're in very unusual times. We have the possibility of world peace. Just the possibility. It may happen. If it happens, we're going to enter a golden age of civilization. If we do not have world peace, then times can be difficult for people. Do not engage fear. Trust God's will. Trust the orchestration of consciousness. And trust yourselves. Whoops. There you are.
There is nothing that is possible without God's will.
I like that.
Yeah, I believe that too. And like this, and also listening to you, this shows us how deeply connected we all are with each other, and that healing isn't only personal. It ripples outwards. So in a group the energy is different than individual level. Yeah. For our listeners who are wanting to start manifesting their dream life today, what's a simple but effective first step that they can go ahead with?
Take a piece of paper or a journal
Yeah.
and a pen you love, not online because you need the kinesthetic, and write down your values. Write down the things important to you in your life, and then engage with them. Expand them. Are you living the life you're meant to live? Are you living the life you want to live? And do you have the support of other people to do what you know you love? If not, what needs to change? Be honest and love yourself. Be compassionate and kind to yourself. I just spoke to someone who's working a job she doesn't love. And I said to her, can you find something you do love? Because if you don't love it, the most valuable commodity you have is time. Why spend it doing something you don't love?
Exactly. This is such a grounded guidance. Small, intentional actions can build momentum and shift reality over time. So, thank you, Dr. Eleanor, for your time and the amazing insights and the amazing stories and everything that you told us. So, what an illuminating conversation with Dr. Eleanor, reminding us that energy, intention, and awareness can unlock the life we've been seeking. If today's episode inspired you, take a quiet moment tonight to tune into your own energy, set a clear intention, and take one aligned action. Your highest potential is waiting.